The development of the game was born from a consciously different decision by the creators. After finishing Triangle Strategy, a dense and profound tactical RPG, producer Tomoya Asano and his team decided to bet on a more accessible genre, which ended up shaping the entire direction of the project from the beginning. This choice to make something less complex and more intuitive was the central point that defined the tone of development. The team consciously sought to capture the nostalgic touch of the RPG and action adventures that proliferated on the Super Nintendo, while also being influenced by classic works, such as the first installment of the Mana series for the Game Boy. This duality between nostalgia and classic references created an interesting challenge during development: how to balance the retro gaming feel with modern mechanics that work well on the Nintendo Switch 2 and current consoles. Playing the prologue demo, I noticed that Team Asano, also known as Claytek Works, faced significant challenges in the pacing of the experience. The team made important adjustments, including increasing Elliot's movement speed, adding a new difficulty level, and other general gameplay improvements between the debut demo and this new version. This shows that development was iterative, with the team responding directly to the impressions of the players who tested the first demo. The production process revealed a passion dedicated to mechanics and characters, according to the 13-minute behind-the-scenes video made available by Square Enix. Producers such as Naofumi Matsushita and director Shota Fukabaro shared details about the challenges faced, indicating that development was not simple. Creating a rewarding, action-packed battle system while maintaining the support of Faye's fairy abilities required intense balancing work. The decision to use HD 2D graphics was strategic in the development context. The creators of Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default already had experience with this visual style, but applying it to an action RPG instead of a tactical or traditional RPG required new design approaches. The stunning visual result we see today was the fruit of experimenting with how to make the style work well for real-time exploration and combat. The four-era structure spanning 1,000 years in the world of Philibile represents another significant development challenge. Creating four distinct environments set in different periods, from the age of budding at the dawn of civilization to more advanced eras, required considerable world design work and narrative coherence. The team managed to maintain its own identity while exploring this bold idea of temporal narrative. The development context shows a team that really wanted to do something different after a complex game, but did not oversimplify. They maintained depth where it matters: combat system, robust customization, deep exploration, while making the experience more accessible. The story of the adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales, begins simply but reveals interesting layers. The game introduces us to Elliot, an ordinary adventurer, and Faye, his fairy companion, who set out from the kingdom of Huther, the last stronghold of humanity on a continent dominated by feral tribes. This initial premise of last human bastion already creates a tone of urgency and despair that caught me right in the demo. What is truly impressive in the narrative is the concept of traveling through four eras, spanning 1,000 years of history. Elliot and Faye use the doorway of time to explore different periods: Age of Safeguard, present; Age of Reconstruction, Dark Age; Age of Magic, Golden Age; and Age of Blooming, Birth of Civilization. This temporal structure is ambitious, and playing the prologue, I noticed that the team managed to connect past and present cohesively, not just as a mechanical trick. The central goal of the journey to free Princess Huria from a mysterious curse seems simple initially, but the demo suggests that this curse has much deeper roots in the world's history. The princess is the one who maintains the magical barrier that protects the kingdom of Huther, and her situation creates an interesting dilemma. Solving her problem may be essential to save all remaining humanity. The relationship between Elliot and Faye is the heart of the narrative, and the phrase, "Here the destinies of an adventurer and a fairy are intertwined," is not just poetic, it is fundamental to understanding the story. In the demo, I could feel that this connection evolves naturally, and Faye's fairy abilities are not just support mechanics, but reflect the trust and partnership that develop between the two characters. A terrible threat accompanies Elliot and Faye in all eras, which adds layers of mystery to the story. Playing the prologue, I felt that this threat is not just a generic villain, but something that is intrinsically connected to the origin of Hurius' curse and to the 1,000 years of history that the protagonists are exploring. The narrative also explores significant changes in the world between each era, not just visually, but in the very structure of human civilization, from the Dark Age where humans struggled to survive to the height of prosperity in the Age of Magic. Each period reveals new secrets about how the world reached its current point of crisis. This left me curious to understand how all the eras connect. Overall, despite playing only the prologue in the demo, the story seems promising because it balances narrative simplicity, an adventurer and a fairy saving a princess, with temporal complexity, 1,000 years of history explored coherently. The premise of revealing the mysterious history of the world while completing a millennial quest creates genuine expectation for the full game, and I don't feel it's just another generic action RPG with time travel as a decorative mechanic. The gameplay is simple to understand, but rewarding when you delve into it. During the demo, I could feel that the team focused on creating an intuitive action-adventure experience. Exactly as producer Tomoya Asano said, simple and easy to understand gameplay. Real-time combat flows naturally without the complexity of turn-based combat systems the creators used in other previous HD 2D games. The weapon system is one of the most interesting points of the gameplay. You can find 7 different types of weapons: swords, bows, chains, scythes, and others, each with distinct abilities and effects. In the demo, what I liked most is that you can equip 2 weapons simultaneously and switch freely between them during combat, which adds a strategic layer without overcomplicating things. This made me think of the Game Boy Zelda games, which the developer explicitly compared it to. The fairy companion Faye is not just a narrative character, she is a fundamental part of the gameplay. You control Elliot's dash and warp abilities, which allow you to teleport instantly to Faye's location, creating an interesting dynamic of exploration and combat. In some moments of the demo, using this warp to reposition Faye and then teleport was essential for solving platform puzzles and dodging attacks from stronger enemies. The Magicite system adds strategic depth to the experience. These are fragments of treasure that you can equip to enhance weapons with additional effects, and there is a limit to how many Magicites you can use. In the demo, I chose the Magicites that best suited my gameplay style. Some have a higher cost to use, but others that are stronger may have a lower cost, which creates interesting balancing decisions. Faye also learns spells throughout the journey, and during gameplay, a learning mini-game can occur that unlocks new abilities for the fairy. This left me curious for the full game, as it suggests that the partnership between Elliot and Faye evolves not only narratively, but also mechanically. Faye's weak magic can be combined with Elliot's attacks and his Magicites to create more comprehensive strategies in combat and exploration. Exploration is rewarding and free. The prologue demo allows you to advance in the main mission, explore the unknown, or search for new weapons and Magicite. The future depends on you. There are caves, dungeons, and shrines that increase your maximum health when you're completed with Faye, and hidden treasure chests contain powerful weapons not directly related to the main plot. In the demo, exploring all available places was essential to find good weapons, and this motivated me to want to explore the full game. The gameplay seems promising because it balances simplicity with strategic depth. Combat is direct and rewarding, full of action, but with an adequate dose of strategic fairy support abilities. The ability to use the shield to block and parry enemy attacks, detonate bombs to open passages and walls, and switch weapons freely creates an experience that is accessible to beginners, but has depth for those who want to master it. After playing the prologue, I'm excited to see how this gameplay evolves across the 4 eras of the full game. The graphics are absolutely stunning, and this is apparent from the very first impression of the demo. The game uses the HD 2D style that Square Enix has already used in Octopath Traveler and Dragon Quest remakes, combining three-dimensional environments with stunning pixel art. In the demo, every pixel seems carefully selected, creating a nostalgic aesthetic that reminds me of Super Nintendo classics, but with an impressive modern visual quality. The implementation of HD 2D is what is truly visually impressive. The environments have three-dimensional depth with dynamic lighting effects, while the characters and main elements remain in 2D pixel art. Playing the prologue, I noticed that the light and shadow effects are particularly well done. When Elliot enters caves or more enclosed areas, the lighting changes organically, creating a genuine atmosphere without being overly dramatic. The character pixel art is rich in detail and expression. Elliot, with his adventurer appearance, and Faye, his luminous fairy companion, have fluid and detailed animations that show the team's care. In the demo, combat animations are particularly satisfying. When Elliot attacks with a sword, bow, or chain, each movement has clear weight and visual impact, and the enemies react with well-executed pain animations that provide important visual feedback on the combat. The four eras that make up the world of Philadelphia have distinct visual identities that stand out even in the prologue demo. The Age of Blooming, Birth of Civilization, has a greener and more organic atmosphere, while other eras feature different climates and environments. This visual variety is essential to differentiate them narratively, and the team managed to create real contrast between the periods without it just feeling like a change in the color palette. The visual effects for magic and abilities are also well executed. When Faye uses her magic abilities, such as creating platforms, teleporting, or magic attacks, the effects are colorful and clear without being overly bright or confusing. In the demo, Faye's magic abilities have distinct colors that help quickly identify what each one does, which is important for strategic gameplay, but also adds beauty to the combat. The interface and HUD are clean and functional, with sharp and easy-to-read text, as mentioned in the demo's accessibility features. The menus are discrete and do not compete visually with the backgrounds, which is important for maintaining focus on exploration and combat. In the demo, the icons for weapons, magicites, and status information are well-designed and consistent with the game's overall pixel art aesthetic. Overall, the graphics are one of the strongest points of the game and fully justify the choice of the HD 2D style. The combination of nostalgic pixel art with modern lighting effects, 3D depth, and fluid animations creates a visual experience that is both familiar to fans of classic RPGs and impressive to modern players. After playing the prologue, I am very excited to see how these graphics will evolve across the four eras of the full game, especially considering that the demo already shows the team's visual care from the beginning. The performance of the demo was exceptionally good in my experience. During the prologue, the game ran fluidly and consistently, without freezing or perceptible frame rate drops. The performance seemed to be running at 4K at 60 FPS without issues, which is impressive for an HD 2D game with so many visual effects and particles during combat. One of the most noticeable aspects of performance was the consistent stability. Even in moments of intense combat with multiple enemies, phase magic effects, and quickly switching weapon abilities, I didn't feel any slowdown or stuttering. This is important because the combat system is heavily based in real-time action, and any performance drop could significantly harm the gameplay experience. The audio was also incredible, with epic orchestral music and convincing voice acting that had no synchronization or delay issues during the demo. The soundtrack adapts well to the context. When I'm in the menus, it intentionally lowers to piano, and during combat and exploration, it becomes more intense, all working perfectly without performance issues. In my experience with the demo, the menus were responsive and fast, with no delay between player input and visual response. The interface flows naturally, and switching between weapons using the shoulder buttons was instantaneous, which is crucial for the combat system that relies on switching weapons quickly between 7 different types. The new prologue demo also includes performance improvements over the first debut demo, as disclosed by the developer. The Team Asano team used the first demo to actively collect player feedback and implement improvements, including increased movement speed for Elliot and general gameplay adjustments that improved the fluidity of the experience. The demo has content taken from the final version of the game, but with some differences, such as certain limited areas. This means that the performance I experienced in the demo may not be fully representative of the full game, especially considering that the denser areas with more enemies may have different performance challenges. Overall, the performance of the demo was very solid and promising. The consistent stability, fluid 60 FPS, and absence of technical issues have me excited for the full game, which arrives on June 18th for PS5, Xbox Series, Nintendo Switch 2, and PC. Considering that the game was optimized to run on multiple platforms with different capabilities, the consistent performance I experienced in the demo suggests that the development team did a good job of balancing visual quality and performance. It is worth buying at launch if you are a fan of classic action RPGs and HD 2D. After playing the prologue demo, I feel the game is ready and polished. The team made significant improvements between the first demo and this version, including increased movement speed, a new difficulty level, and general gameplay adjustments. The performance was solid, the HD 2D graphics are stunning, and the real-time combat system is rewarding and intuitive. The game is primarily recommended for fans of classic Super Nintendo-style action RPGs, players who enjoy Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default, the team's previous creators, and those seeking an accessible adventure with strategic depth. The combat system is direct and easy to understand, but has depth with 7 types of weapons, Magus sights to equip additional effects, and strategic support abilities from the Fairy Fae. If you like rewarding exploration, switching weapons during combat, and a narrative that spans multiple eras, this game is for you. The game is not recommended for those looking for ultra-complex action RPGs with elaborate combat systems, fans of turn-based RPGs. The game switched combat from turn-based to real-time action, and players who prefer games with competitive multiplayer. It is single-player with local multiplayer for 2-2 only. It is also not ideal for those who do not like pixel art or nostalgic aesthetics, even with modern effects. I will be buying it at launch, and this is based on the solid experience of the demo. The prologue showed that the game has quality, stability, and a clear proposal for accessible but rewarding action-adventure. The HD 2D graphics are stunning, the performance was exceptionally fluid at 60 FPS, and the 4-era narrative spanning 1,000 years left me curious for the full game. Additionally, the digital pre-order includes the Elliot's Departure Pack with items that give an early advantage in the game. The price is $59.99, the standard launch price for action RPGs. Considering the quality demonstrated in the demo, the solid performance, and the ambitious concept of time travel through 4 eras, I feel the value is fair. If you want to wait, that may be an option if you are worried about the launch price or prefer to see full reviews after release. The prologue demo has content taken from the final version with some limited areas, so there are elements I haven't fully experienced. However, the foundation of the game seems solid. Fluid combat, consistent performance, well-made graphics, and an interesting narrative, which makes me feel confident in buying it at launch. My personal recommendation is that you buy it at launch if you are a fan of HD 2D action RPGs, Octopath Traveler, or want an accessible adventure with strategic depth. The game seems to be ready, polished, and of consistent quality since the demo. If you are not well-versed in the genre or are concerned about the price, waiting for full reviews may be safer, but my personal experience with the demo has made me very excited for the full game.